So this is the iPhone 8 Plus that I received for free in my last video. But now that all the parts are here, it's time to fix it and restore it to its prior glory. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. First, let's open up the screen, take off the plastic. So this is an OEM iPhone 8 Plus screen. I'm not doing any aftermarket parts for this, except for the home button, which is an aftermarket home button that can be used on iPhones that had their original home button damaged. The home button will still function as a home button, but Touch ID will not work. As you can tell, this screen is in great condition and is not bad at all for an OEM screen for $20. Now let's take a look at the housing. Now I got all these parts for scarily cheap, and I'm really surprised at how cheap I was able to do this. I was not expecting it to be this cheap. Now here is the housing. This is an OEM gold iPhone 8 Plus housing that has also been pulled off of a working iPhone 8 Plus. As you could tell, it is in great overall condition, with the only flaw that I could find being some scratching around the lightning connector. Now this housing has been completely stripped except for the flash, microphone, power button, and volume rockers cable, and I'll have to test that it works, as I can see that it is creased up here. Not even the wireless charging pad is in here, so hopefully I can successfully remove it from the other iPhone. But overall, this is not a bad housing at all for it to be OEM and cost me only, believe it or not, $15. Next, we have the iPhone 8 Plus camera. Now this is because the camera on the iPhone 8 Plus has been completely ripped off. Now here it is, a brand new camera pulled right off of a working iPhone 8 Plus. This was actually bought from the same seller as the screen. And here is that replacement home button that I was waiting on to be able to do this repair. And this home button will not bring back Touch ID functionality, but it will bring back the home button functionality. So now that we have all the parts for this iPhone 8 Plus, it's time to restore it to an absolutely unrecognizable condition. Let's get started. So most of the repair process is going to be a time lapse in this video, just so it's not an hour and a half long. So let's go ahead and get started with this iPhone 8 Plus. Okay, so I'm honestly not sure how this possibly happened, but I lost a chunk of the logic board. My hopes for this repair have definitely just gone down quite a bit. I'm not gonna stop, and that's definitely not good. See, now this is where I start to hate it. Now it's time to remove the battery, except I have to deal with Apple's forbidden cheese adhesive. We'll see if it snaps or not. I'd love to keep this battery in nice condition. So just as I expected, the adhesive strip snapped, and now I have to try to grab it out of the battery. Hopefully it doesn't happen on the second one. So after about 20 minutes straight of prying at the battery, I got the damn thing out with minimal damage, which is great. So if this battery has a good battery health, I can't remember. If it does, I get to keep it. If it doesn't, then I gotta drop more money on a new battery. Okay, so I have now removed every last part from this iPhone 8 Plus housing, and I had to poke a little bit of a hole through the back to get the wireless charging coil out, as the new housing did not come with a wireless charging coil, and this was just the easiest way to get it out. So the back now has a hole in it, but I've got every last part out, every antenna, everything that needs to be out to make the phone work is out, and now it's time to start reassembling the phone into the new housing. Okay, so unfortunately I wasn't recording during the short period of time that I did this, but I put the battery in with some generic adhesive, as I don't have the Apple adhesive strips, but I will eventually get some, and I will also eventually get a seal to go around the edges of the phone. But now that everything's put back into the phone, it's time to transfer the camera and earpiece speaker from the old screen to the new one and install the new home button. All right, here is the new home button. I actually bought the rose gold color because the gold color on the iPhone 8 uses a very similar color to the rose gold for the home button. So this was a closer match than the gold was. Time to install it. Okay, so I've gotten the new home button installed. There it is, and I've gone ahead and put a tempered glass screen protector on the screen. Don't mind the fingerprints, it's just a generic screen protector. But there's the new home button, and let me grab the old one for comparison. So there's the original that was previously in the phone, and you can tell there's a very slight difference, but compared to a gold home button, it's a lot closer to the rose gold. Now that this is done, let's reassemble the phone and see if it turns on. Okay, the phone has now been fully reassembled. It's time to charge it and see how she works.
The next day.
So finally, after a gruesome 4-hour-long repair, this is the final product of my free iPhone 8 Plus restoration. I took an iPhone 8 Plus that looked like this and made it look like this, nearly brand new and indistinguishable from the original condition. Now, this phone is not completely perfect yet, but this is where I'm gonna conclude the video. Let me show you what I mean. So the first thing to show is with that new home button, you get the message, unable to activate Touch ID on this iPhone. Now, typically on an iPhone 7 or 8 or newer with the haptic home button, this means that both the home button and Touch ID function does not work. Now, since this is one of the YF home buttons made specifically to replace broken home buttons on these iPhones, the home button function does work. Now, of course, every time you reboot the phone, you will get the Touch ID pop-up. Sorry about that. Now, I'll show you if you try to set up Touch ID, you simply can't. It just doesn't register that you're putting your finger on the home button. Now, if you listen closely, you can hear the haptic clicking when I try to use my finger for Touch ID. And that's because these home buttons do not register when you press down. All you simply need to do is tap it for it to register that you're pressing the home button. Now, just like I guessed in the beginning of the video, this iPhone is running iOS 14.2 and is a 64 gigabyte model. Now, unfortunately, this phone does have one other issue with it, and that is that the volume up, volume down, and ringer mute switch do not function on this phone. And after opening up the phone and a close inspection, I discovered that the cable that is responsible for the back microphone, the rear flash, power button, volume up, volume down, and ringer mute switch is damaged right by the ringer mute switch and volume buttons, causing the function on those to be hindered. Now, I've already ordered a new cable, and that'll be here soon, but I will not be making a video installing that cable, as it would just be too much work for a pretty small outcome for that video. Now, why didn't I just use the old cable from the housing? Well, I can't, because with my luck, I managed to rip off completely the volume buttons from the old cable. But other than those two issues, I now have an almost completely functioning iPhone 8 Plus running iOS 14.2, 16GB gold in nearly mint condition. The only cosmetic flaw is the scratching around the charging port. Now don't mind the missing pentalobe screws. I have some that I'm gonna rip from a rose gold iPhone 7 to install in here because the rose gold color is similar enough. And the only issue with this phone being the volume buttons and ringer mute switch, and the Touch ID, of course. Now, what am I gonna do with this phone? Well, I've made the decision that I'm gonna be listing this phone on eBay for $145. I'll put a link down in the description right now to my eBay store. This listing will be up as soon as this video is up, but I will not ship the phone after it's bought until I have that new cable installed in the phone. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I haven't made a lengthy and detailed repair video like this. Actually, I don't think ever. So I hope this video turns out well. And this iPhone 8 Plus now has a new life. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing, as only 16.9% of my viewers are subscribed. So if you're new, please hit that subscribe button down below. It'll really help me out, as I'm trying to reach 2,000 subscribers by the end of summer. So thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, peace out, guys.